The world is seeing a whole new space race as billionaires and the mega rich compete to blast themselves into the atmosphere. Last time the world was watching the sky so closely was back in 1969 when we landed on the moon for the first time. Today, we have all the info you need about the next billionaires who are going to space. So which billionaires have actually made it into space so far? There's been so much controversy about billionaires taking trips to space. The first to make this bold move was Jeff Bezos, who many have accused of being selfish with his billions by taking a space trip in July earlier this year. Pictures of him wearing a cowboy hat and grinning were splashed online, disembarking from his craft, and appeared on every news outlet. He was shortly followed by Richard Brunson, who, like Bezos, didn't quite make it into orbit, but was nevertheless extremely pleased with himself. In fact, when he landed back on solid ground, he cascaded champagne all over himself and his crew in a show of extravagant celebration. The third and most recent billionaire to make it to space is Jared Isaacman, who actually made it into orbit. He spent 3 days in total drifting in orbit above the Earth, landing back down on Saturday, the 18th of September. Unlike Richard Brunson and Jeff Bezos, not only did he travel much further, but he actually used his trip to raise money for St. Jude's Children's Research Hospital, a whopping $200 million in total. He flew in a SpaceX craft designed by Elon Musk, who we reckon is going to be trying to launch himself in one of them very soon. But who's going to be the next billionaire to try and make a space flight? There are a few who are looking like likely candidates. Elon Musk. Elon is definitely extremely passionate about going to space and has been vocal about his love for space for a very long time. His company SpaceX has reached several milestones in recent years, which has got both his own name and his company in the news over and over again. He's developed an internet satellite service called Starlink, and dozens of his satellites are orbiting the Earth as we speak. There's a little controversy here as the satellites are responsible for around 1,600 near-miss collisions with each other and other space objects and debris every single week. And to make matters worse, the project is now out of beta testing phase, which means a lot more satellites are about to join them both above and below the atmosphere. SpaceX also has a relatively new claim to fame, as it was announced in April of this year that Elon Musk's company would be the one building a lunar lander for NASA itself. This is for the Artemis mission, which is to send humans to the moon in 2024. SpaceX's role in this is to build a lunar lander, which is a pair of astronauts will use to land on the surface of the moon. They'll stay there for a week, mapping the environment before boarding the craft again to join the awaiting NASA spacecraft. This is incredible news for both SpaceX and Elon Musk himself, as he beat Jeff Bezos' project Blue Horizon to win the NASA contract. So, despite building the ship that flew Jared Isaacman around the Earth's orbit, Elon Musk hasn't actually been into space himself. He's desperate to get to Mars, and SpaceX's long-term goal is to finish building the Starship rocket. The Starship rocket is being designed to go to Mars with a fully manned crew and is expected to be ready to go within the next 10 years or hopefully less. This is one trip that people think Musk might be planning on taking himself, as he's expressed desires multiple times to walk, live, and even die on Mars. Yusaku Maizawa. Yusaku Maizawa is a 45-year-old businessman from Japan who has made himself a billionaire using online startup fashion businesses. He's also an avid art collector, and as such has a passion for unusual and unique things. One of the most unique things a person can do is to go to where nobody else has gone before, so it's not surprising that he is interested in spaceflight. Maizawa has 2 space trips scheduled so far, the first of which is going to be taking place later on this year. He'll be going with Space Adventures on a trip to the International Space Station and spend an incredible 12 full days on the craft, which is a huge amount of time for a civilian member of the public to spend in space. He has even asked people online for things that they want him to do and record whilst in space, and he hopes he'll be able to do the top 100 things most asked for. He's also planning on filming a lot of the experience for his own personal highlights and to share with the rest of the world. But this 12-day trip out of the atmosphere is only a warm-up for what's to come. Yusaku Maizawa has another trip planned, this time aboard one of Elon Musk's SpaceX crafts. Maizawa plans to launch off into space and make a trip around the moon before landing back down on Earth safely. He'll actually be the first commercial passenger to make such a trip, which is definitely one for this history book. He hopes to take up to half a dozen artists or members of the public along with him so they can participate in his art project. The project is affectionately known as #DearMoon and has a huge following online. Robert Bigelow. Robert Bigelow is for sure a bit of a character. He has a few obsessions that mostly revolve around space travel, aliens, and UFOs. He's wealthy from founding and creating the Budget Suites of America hotel chain, which has made him extremely rich. He started to financially get into his space passions in 1995 when he funded a research institute to delve into paranormal and UFO-related topics. He also purchased an entire cattle ranch in 1996 in Utah. This wasn't for farming or agriculture though, but rather because he believed that on the land was the site of an interdimensional doorway used by aliens and shapeshifters. Right. 3 years later, in 1999, he set up his own space exploration company called Bigelow Aerospace. He had big plans in motion to develop a space station of his own, but one that was entirely commercial and could be used like a hotel by members of the public wanting to take a space trip. His idea of creating space habitats suitable for living was one that he deeply believed in. Whilst a huge space station hotel is his main goal, he's also got plans for designing smaller space properties which can be set on solid ground, ideally the surface of the moon. Instead of these habitats being solid structures, they'll be made of flexible material which can be inflated. The fabric would be in layers such as strong bulletproof fabrics and foam for insulation. The flexibility and inflation part means that the habitats can be folded, compressed, and stored safely in capsules and very easy to transport. Unfortunately, the COVID-19 pandemic has meant that Robert Bigelow has had to put his plans on hold for the time being. But with someone this obsessed with space and alien life, it's only a matter of time before he puts his plans back into action. Naveen Jain. Naveen Jain is a 62-year-old tech entrepreneur from New Delhi, India. He started up multiple different companies, some with better reputations than others. For example, in 2003, he set up Itelius. You ever seen ads on websites offering you cash back for answering a survey, and it turns out that those surveys are scams to get you to lose money? Well, that's what Intellius is. Not only did it scam people into signing up for a paid subscription, but they also collected and sold the individuals who signed up. Extremely shady indeed, but it made Naveen Jain extremely wealthy. He has also been caught out using shady practices in the values and stocks of his other companies. It's easy to say that he isn't a very ethical kind of guy, so it's no surprise what he wants to go into space for. His company, Moon Express, was founded in 2010 and actually was backing from the United States government. The company seeks to go to the moon on spacecraft and then use drilling technology to mine the moon of valuable minerals and assets. He wants to take materials like gold, silver, platinum, rare minerals, carbon, nitrogen, hydrogen, and water. He also wants to take helium-3, a valuable gas which can be used as fuel for nuclear energy. This is worth trillions of dollars, and in Naveen, the moon is clearly something which can just be used for wealth and gain. He's also hoping to have living colonies of people on the moon in the next couple years, which sounds ambitious to say the least. Time for us to wrap up now. Thanks for watching today's video. We'll be seeing you next time.